Hey everyone, this is Stingray coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, and it's coming up on 3 o'clock. I've been working on a project guitar for most of the morning, and well, even that word itself, morning. Today is a day of loss for my extended family. We suffered a loss in the family. And today and tomorrow are the services, which I really don't know if I'm going to attend. But I have my reasons, and a lot of people, if you wanted to justify them in today's society, might just say, well, I haven't gotten the shot, I really don't have a feeling that I need the shot, and at the same time, have this odd feeling that just sharing that information will be of concern to some people. And with all of that being said, that's fear-based thinking. So when I say I haven't gotten the shot, the last family get-together I went to, I was told that 2 of the relatives had tested positive for and endured a stay in the hospital for COVID symptoms. And I don't know how many of you are watching that are in the family, but for those of you who are watching this, you might know that there are a lot of things that I've just suddenly kind of disconnected from, where I'm not absent from what's happening, it's just I'm not included. And since I'm not included, I'm not going to participate my time in that matter, in that scenario, in the way that I might otherwise feel obligated. What I mean is I have priorities. And in my order of operations, I don't want to expose myself to the infirm, the sick, the people who are willingly continuing to participate in the systems that were started generations ago by our fathers. I don't want to continue to attend these gatherings where it's told over and over on the news, someone tested positive and boom, the whole segment was tested positive. That's fear-based. So again, if I wanted to present it as a fear-based reason as far as why I'm not going to these services for the person that we lost recently, well, I've spent most of this morning doing some pretty focus intense work, which means I didn't get to text, I didn't get to have a lot of phone calls while I was doing these things, I didn't get to do this, that, or the other. Took a lot of focus. And it takes a lot of focus to tell a story from start to finish, which is why I'm starting it right now. It's 2:59 and we're driving away from where I live, and I'm headed to this place called Friedrich Wilderness Area. And I'm driving there just to go and take my break, my extended walk, my wellness day off, so to speak. And not to make a difficult situation out of the opportunity to paint this guitar, but there are a lot of things that I'm exposed to. I don't have any kind of a particulate filtration system that allows me to quickly and easily screen off my own lungs from the chemicals to which I'm exposing the environment and myself. And so sometimes those things can cause, headaches, certain side effects. I assume it would cause side effects in other people. For me, the thing I often experience is I get a small headache. And so that's, I just don't know that I want to go to a place already feeling a little bit compromised and then hang out with a potential outbreak of a situation, especially one in the realm of sadness, because my sadness, it goes a little bit beyond the sadness of a loss of a family member. In fact, the loss of a family member should be a celebration. Our family member was suffering, and they're no longer suffering. They've experienced peace. They're at rest. I know it sounds convoluted, almost heartless to hear it that way, but it's rather greedy of us to all experience and manifest sadness to one another on a frequent basis. There was a vulture. I waved to it. Sometimes I wave to the animals, and surprisingly, I've seen some interesting things in some cases. Anyway, for this message, I wanted to talk about what does it mean to have good credit. Good credit is like good health. We continue to put in investments into those things that we want to see have a payoff. Sometimes, if we forget to put those investments where they belong, such as into our own selves if we need recharging, sometimes we may suffer significant losses. And these losses, it's almost like a ship, a cruise ship, a carrier. It's almost like a battleship. This is a peaceful battle, though. And in these international, intergalactic waters, you can say whatever you want, especially if you're resonating at a level of peace and positivity, because that energy is reciprocated. It's reciprocated. So what does it mean to have good credit? These are deep, complex conversations, y'all. I hope that you're listening. I hope you're understanding. I'm from Texas, so I might say some things here and there, y'all. I've been told I sound like a California surfer compared to what I am or who I am based on what people hear. And I don't quite fit the profile always of someone who might have good credit. I might be overextended. What is a scenario where we can possibly determine just the level that we have to be at to be overextended? Are we overextended when we're living our life every day but not tending to our own yards? Some might argue that that's the case. So anyway, when we talk about good credit and maintaining our health and health being wealth, it's all interconnected. Good credit is when you are likely to lend something or have something lent to you, and the item or value of that is reciprocated back and forth in a way that makes sense. For an example, if there is an extreme shortage of something like, let's say, blueberries, and somebody wants blueberries, well, somebody's going to have to pay for it, especially if there's an extreme shortage of them. When we are overextended, sometimes we will buy things and let them go to rot in the refrigerator. No less. It's like we have a whole thing to air condition these things because that's what society deemed not overextended. However, if our refrigerator were to go out in the house right now, I probably could go to one of the local best purchase places and get 6 to 18 months of no interest financing. It's necessary. It's necessary because we're supposed to be stewards of our environment. We will find what it takes to pay for whatever we ourselves are maintaining. Now, what we need to understand on those terms is that there's a reciprocal relationship, an exchange. So if I'm exchanging something, let's say for an example with the corporation, I'm going to be paying every single person who answered the phone, programmed the software, thought about what color the design is that you're seeing right now is or should be, and you're paying them all a fee for the same thing that you might have been paying someone else in your own community a lot less of a fee for, not necessarily just because you're trying to be on the cheap for the discount, but because every region has its own set of governances. And there are limitations based on abundance. If some place is extremely abundant and you can just eat on the cheap forever, are you putting it on good credit or are you paying cash for those meals? And are those meals reciprocating what you're putting into those few dollars that you're paying all the way up the chain for? How does that energy seem to be reasonable or responsible, or is it overextended? These subjects are so complex. Did you hear that? These subjects are so complex. That's the amazing radar detector I have. It's an escort. I always have an escort with me. I love these radar detectors because sometimes they help me to pay attention when I might not have been paying attention fully. And during a conversation like this, for an example, I've been maintaining my speed as reasonably as I can because there's a lot of good traffic. And that took away some processing power that was available for me to maintain this story about good credit and focus on it enough to keep talking about it every time I deviated from the conversation. So anyway, you might think that I have good credit, and then again, you might think I'm overextended. If I had to, I'm telling you, I had to pull out some of my life savings to pay for this vehicle. I didn't have a super high interest rate on the vehicle, but the payments were phenomenal because I'd made confirmation. My radar detector sometimes will confirm, just like the wipers just went the moment I did that. I've had these talks in the presence of friends of mine, and some of them get a little freaked out when the electronics start to respond to the things the energies that are coming out, whether it's super positive. Did you hear that? Confirmation. I can't make this stuff up. I could, but then you wouldn't understand how genuine I am when I talk about faith. Faith, this bird, the moment I just said it right now and you saw me look across, this bird just zoomed right across and it made it through. Somehow it lived. Because it came in so fast that I couldn't even have braked to stop to help that bird from getting hit. On this day of mourning, on this day of celebration, you see how we did that? On this day of celebration, I am going to recognize my uncle by going for a walk in nature. I might cry in nature for this person we lost, or because I thought about this story that I loved about this person we lost. This person we lost was interested in squirrels for a long. He really loved seeing squirrels. And one day he asked me for a personalized picture. Now, I have several pictures of squirrels, but there are just a few that I have that are superb. And so I took that superb picture, got it framed, and he thanked me for that picture for quite some time. He always complimented me on that artwork. For someone like you and me who see certain things daily, we might take them for granted. That's being overextended. So, when I talk about our health being our wealth, how healthy are you? How healthy is your portfolio? How healthy is your energy? I'm saying exactly what's happening here. There's no filter. I'm telling you. I've told you a story. I'm going through a hardship in my own more direct line of family. There's something that trumps this other hardship that other people are experiencing. For one, someone's receiving relief and peace. And they had the opportunity of their lifetime to do so many things in this blessed, amazing location. For most of us who are looking at this through whatever side of the screen we're looking at it from, confirmation. And what I mean by that is, if we're looking at this on some screen and have the freedom to do certain things that allow and permit for this free thought, then we are working in a way to pay off our debts. We're hearing messages that are of inspiration. We're reciprocating that energy. That's not being overextended. When you can reciprocate an energy in a tangible way, especially when someone is telling you, I have not got the time even to go to services to make nice at a family event because my own family places me in difficult situations where I have to struggle to make certain things work on time. Right now I'm going to take a walk. It's part of my deviation from staying at one place or following through a trajectory of something or another. And that deviation includes, oh, by the way, I need to clean out my vehicle just a little bit more, so I require the use of a vacuum. There happens to be a vacuum service on the way to this place where I'm going to take this walk. And so, all in all, there are chores and tasks that lead up to my ability to be able to leave on this journey where I'm going to take and receive some clients in a whole other state who I really don't want to expose to any kind of illness or adversity, which is why I want to take care of myself to the point where I'm able to take care of my clients. So, a whole lot of everything that I'm saying might seem non-applicable to those who are not interested in hearing a long story. That's fine. It might also be difficult to read a long story of peace or scripture of peace, even if it was edited and had pieces omitted by our fathers. Whatever that scripture or text or reading material is. There's a good portion of it that's edited by our fathers. This in itself may at some point be edited by our fathers. For right now, though, I leave the power in the hands of our mothers, you know? Our mothers have the power. They quite literally have all of the power. The power to conceive, the power to conceive of destruction, the power to will another person to carry out things on their behalf. Tend to the yard, for an example. If you're not able to tend to your own yard and you're omitting that from your work process, you might be overextended. You may not be the person who should be responsible for a property confirmation if you're about to burn it down. If there is a named successor, the property might best be willed in the direction of the energy. Whatever it was that said, this is what should happen with this. And also, his will be done, her will be done. The only thing I can do as you're listening to these long stories about staying healthy and having good credit is tell you, some people would not reciprocate any value that you give to them because they can't recognize value. Not yet. It's not necessarily up to you to wake someone up to being able to recognize value. Health is wealth. If I bring you the healthiest version of me, you're seeing the best, most beautiful smile that you've seen from me. And then what? Well, the sky's the limit at that point. Imagine all the things that we can do together when we have the time to be able to do those things together. Time is money, baby. When I talk about energy and wealth and health, time is money. Confirmation. Time is money. So that's why I record things while I'm in transit. Look at this. It took under 20 minutes to get to my exit. Well, to my first exit. And the moment I talked, as if by comedy, I'm about to come to a standstill. So anyway, health and wealth and being overextended. Some people might say I'm overextended. It took me my life savings to pay for this vehicle, and I'm making a guitar, as I started out telling you. There's a green guitar that I wanted for sale here at one of the stores. It's $4,000, $5,000, something like that. And the guitar, especially because I'm not on a paid income stream that is bringing in the suitable funds to buy that guitar, although it's beautiful, it's just outside of my scope, even though I've purchased more valuable guitars outside of my scope. it has to do with scarcity, supply and demand, quality, inspiration, really inspiration. What brings you joy? So this particular green guitar was $5,000. And so I couldn't find a way to pull off that type of an income and maintain my healthy credit. So I looked and I found a kit guitar that cost $200. And I looked for the nearest color of green that I could find that was similar to this guitar that I had wanted. And wouldn't you know it, that tube of green stain was $7. So for $207, I got the majority of my guitar started. You guys have to see it. In fact, I'll show pictures throughout this particular video. And or maybe not throughout the video, maybe towards the end or the beginning. I'm not really sure. All I'm sure of is that I really enjoy the way that it's coming out. It's coming out in such a way that it's fantastic. It's a prototype. There are certain things that I would have professionally done differently when the commensurate funds meet that level of demand or whatever, supply, whatever it happens to be. Then sure, I would love to put myself into that career with that charisma. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, when I list these guitars on Reverb or whatever site that I list them on, it's going to be a game changer, because I will name a price. I will name what I'm after in order to help reciprocate the energy that we're distributing here. There's some people that maybe can't participate one way, can participate another way, and keep the energy going. My credit is such that I pay my debt, my creditors, my debtor. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Right? So, my particular credit is such that I can apply for and obtain any level of credit. There was a point in time when I would go to our big giant sporting arena and apply for every credit card offer that was there because it came with a free t-shirt. Right then and there, you could just use your card, you could apply for the card and you get a t-shirt or some other gimmicky offer. And oftentimes I noticed that if I just changed the numbers a little bit, I could get approved more often than not. I wondered how many people had limitless, unlimited bank accounts, because that's what we are, and tried to write down a number that said what unlimited for them was. What is unlimited for you? Is it just barely better than what our successors brought to us? Or is it infinitely better? Exponentially better, to the point where it's light years ahead of anything else? That's how much better I see. This jewelry came to me from the ocean. I put my hands in the water saying a prayer. There are so many people that tell me I need to start out with prayer if I'm feeling bad or feeling down. I'm not feeling down. I can confirm it over and over and over in the way that I tell the story. So again, we're telling a story about good credit. If you're not staying on point, focus. It's difficult to have a long conversation unless you have a lot of time. I myself am going to take a walking break where I'm absolutely disconnected from everything. And I have to be. It's been such an overwhelming work week, and it just started. And I've literally got thousands of miles to go. My credit is such that when I use words, I'm using words that are accurate. They're accurate. They come out naturally. You don't have to think about two sides of an equation. There's only one equation. Peace is peace. Did you hear that? Confirmation. I really can't make these things up. They just happen. So I'm driving out to Friedrich Wilderness area. I'm coming to my second major turnaround, but I actually also have a green light, so I'm going to take the, I don't know, the wider bandwidth pipe, even though it's a little bit more flooded. It's just, I don't get to take this route as much. The light's green. You know, following along with the energy that happens. Today, in the guitar that I am making, I say was and am, because I am making it. By the time you see this, I might have already made it. Who knows? But in this particular creation, there's a pattern in the wood grain that looks like an eye. And before that pattern really became obvious that it would stay that way, visible, almost creating its own design. Before I saw that, I'd worked with my partner on trying to design an eye in the guitar, because this guitar has a dragon inlay for the fretboard, and I wanted to call it something that was related to the dragon, like Eye of the Dragon. And drawing an eye, or the Eye of Horus, that looks like the letter R, which, if you guys didn't remember, my name is Ray, Stingray, but I'm Ray. Howdy from Texas. Today we're talking about good credit and health and wealth. But basically, I was hoping to put an eye in the spot where the wood grain itself shows a readily visible pattern of an eye in the wood grain. I shared my dream with someone who believes in my dreams. Only. And wouldn't you know it, where two or more are gathered, on the same page, it seems like we can make worlds of things happen. With a little bit of faith, two or more, plus some action. That was like a sign. Did you guys hear it? The thorns on this tree scratching the car. I'm talking about the success, the path to success. Look at my shirt. I'm wearing some crazy stuff. Super crazy. It's so crazy some people may not want to talk with me on the trail. It's amazing how imagery can change how some people are treated. With all of that in mind, I'll tell you, throughout my period of time alive and knowingly applying for credit frivolously, just for fun in a lot of cases, just for a t-shirt, I've known that I can put down different values and I can be treated differently. This is just truth. One time I lived way up north during my younger years, and even though certain things have been abolished, I myself was told we don't have bathrooms for your kind. Not until I got employed in this tiny town. And since everyone knew everyone in this tiny town, when they knew where I got employed, it was a high-paying place where I could really get overextended. Anyway, people will treat you differently based on anything you say. So, as a kid, I innocently wrote in huge amounts for my annual salary. And I'd get approved for these cards with interesting limits. As long as I made payments, especially if I paid the balance all the time for those things I was purchasing, it's not a big deal. It's not until you start tripping on entertainment value-based perceptions that make you say, I've got to do this every day. I've got to do this every day. I've got to do this every... Why do I have to go and buy a whole suit? These are my traditional clothes don't fit in. Can you imagine if I wore this picture? Do you know that this is a character? The character's name is Eddie. And Eddie's a hero. He's the mascot. He's also the villain. He's the stage prop. He's in energy. So, it took a half hour to get here. I just got here to take a walk. I'm going to go take a walk. It's going to take more than a half hour. It's been raining on and off a little bit. I'm going to spend another half hour. It's about 3:27 exactly when I said it's about. It turned 3:27. And it'll be about 4:30. By the time I leave here, it might be 5 when I get home to take a shower. I'm going to be here in town tonight. And I really don't know how many other nights or when the return will be. What I do know is that in addition to cleaning the car, which I have to do, I'll be starting to get things packed, but not until after I make pass 2 of the guitar's neck that I'm finishing right now. Once I make pass 2, then basically I can allow that to dry, possibly overnight, so that I can do maybe one more thing tomorrow to it. I'm not sure. And then I can finally start installing the electronics or take it to some place that can do that for me. Only because of, again, being pressed for time. When I go to this place that can do this for me, if they can do it, I will have the cash to put into that transaction. I will not be overextending myself on credit. I could make that payment via credit and still pay that off by the time I get the invoice for it. However, during this corona time, when people are so concerned with outbreaks and everything, I have not been able to make the same income as some people who have lived in an overextended type manner, really understanding the levels of comfort so much that they don't quite understand. Energy, health is wealth. And when I was healthier, I basically was disconnecting from every stream of income, and I've made myself available here and there. And in those circles where I'm at, I take on the health of the area just like anyone would. So sometimes it pays to discover that you can get outside for a while. It's the action that pays you back. It's the car trip that pays you back. You can do things to multitask. That's the one guaranteed aspect of how to be happier and healthier. You can absolutely multitask. So if you consider doing yard work your exercise and activity, I've done that. If you consider walking in the rain to be part of your getting baptized from heaven above, I've done that. If you consider polishing a $7 paint on a $200 guitar to make a $207 guitar so that you could have something that you were proud of that wasn't your $4,500 guitar, I've done that. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now, and I'm doing everything I can to keep everything in good credit. The payments are being made. The payments are being made ahead of time. The payments are on auto payment. And I'm doing everything I can to pay for the past considerations that I've made while I was being tied up. Sometimes by people in my own family financially. Not being repaid the level that I would have paid them. Especially when they were in need of help. If I'm asking for help, I've done that. And if I've not heard anything back, I've had that happen to me. What can I say? I recognize at 3:31 right here that we're coming up fast on 3:33, which is when I'm going to check out and start walking my trail. I realize that I'm telling you a long story, but at some point you're going to hear. And it's going to be the persons that need to hear about these stories about our fathers. It's not a negative thing. It's not even a bad thing. Sometimes there's a level of comprehension that has to happen, but that can't happen until someone hears that you're communicating with them. Once they hear that you're communicating with them, they comprehend. I'm in favor of you having time off and doing everything you need to do, including celebrating life in all of its various formats in the way that comes natural to you. For me, Eddie comes natural to me. I see Eddie everywhere. I mean, life is death, death is life. We have a lot to do. There's a lot of work to do. And there's some people that are doing a good amount of that work, trying to figure out, how do we pick up all the garbage that's being thrown onto our trails? How do we stop it at the source? How do we stop it in a place where it starts at the very first next purchase that we make? Are we overextending ourselves? You understand how it's all tied together? This piece of jewelry, I've got to show it to you. I've got to show you. It's not 333 yet anyway. So this piece of jewelry, I've got it on a copper chain that I found on Etsy. But look, check this out. Look how, I don't even know if you can tell how it's wrapped. There's a tiny, tiny wire right here. Might be about as clear as I can get it, but there's a tiny, tiny wire right there. I threaded it. I threaded it through this piece of coral that washed into my hands. I threaded it, and then I spiral wrapped the two ends so that they could go around a bale. The little piece of copper that came out of, I don't know, probably like the $6 or $8 package. And the bale, it came in like a pack of 100 for like $3. Those are almost negligible because now they're tools that I've been able to use to make other pieces just like this, that washed up from the ocean directly into my hands when I asked, please God, I would love to make a piece of jewelry that's meaningful, that makes sense, that's sustainable, that provides us with that knowledge that there is abundance. It's 334. Sorry guys, I meant to call it out when it was 333. But I really wanted to see a sign, and I got it. And I showed so many of our fathers. I even made gifts for our mothers, for our daughters. The value and sustainability of it, it's not the same. For whatever reason. It might be the same reason why I see this $4,500 guitar, and then I see a kit guitar and think, God, what am I supposed to do with that? What if there were places where instruments were naturally present? I saw there was a girl on this trail, on the upper part of the main loop trail, who had flipped over a piece of limestone so that the jaggedy parts were facing down. And she started kind of drumming on it with other rocks, and it made a beautiful sound. It wasn't quite a xylophone, and I bet every piece that was like that when you flipped over would make a different tone, and you probably could set up a xylophone. What if there were things that we could do to entertain one another so that we could focus for over 3 minutes and 33 seconds? So that we could focus for almost 40 minutes on a story about health and wealth and good credit and what it means to have good credit. Just because you have a good credit score, I do, I've had that, doesn't mean that you're always going to pay someone back. I think that's true because I've known a lot of people. I even once had a second property where I wasn't paid on time, but man, all the newest gaming systems were in this person's collection. It's not a judgment, it's an observation. when we prioritize certain levels of entertainment above other things that actually make sense, like paying back our past, we might have bad credit, whether the system says you have good credit or not. Sometimes the system defers to what you write down and a collective tally of what you've done in your past. So what are you doing growing forward to improve that imbalance? That's the conundrum, and that's the kind of thing that gets me to thinking, I wonder, there are a lot of animals that I love and also that I'm concerned with. I love butterflies. I'm concerned with wasps. If I walk past a hive of wasps, that's tough. It's tougher if they're aggressive. Thankfully, so far, I've only walked past hives of wasps under nests unaware. Only a few times have I been aware, but my energy changes when changed when I was aware. I used to become fearful that I would get stung. I've never been stung. I've been told I've been stung once as a kid by a honeybee, as a toddler. But I don't think that I've been stung. Anyway, I don't recall it anyway. I definitely haven't been stung by a wasp. I've had a few opportunities where it seemed like it was going to be close, but I didn't get stung. So I've been very fortunate. Been very fortunate to think mostly about the butterflies and to just kind of peacefully observe the wasps as I walk past. Good credit means making good decisions so that you can pay your debts in a manner that makes sense. Yeah, sometimes you pay a premium to get something right then. But what is that premium really? Are you still making your payments? Was it okay to write that you got a higher amount than you used to get? Or than you ever got? When you start thinking about things like that and reflecting on your past, it's like, yeah, I know I've made a lot of mistakes. You may or may not be like me, but you might be able to apply this insight somewhere else across the board. Credit, health is wealth. You can have anything you want, especially if you can motivate yourself to get up to that point to do what it is that's necessary to achieve those goals. For me, I was advised by a great friend to take some time to myself. So that's what I'm about to do. It's been 42 minutes here. I've been parked for long enough that it's getting the humidity is getting, it's getting to that perfect sweet spot where it's like I'm about to break a sweat, but if I open the door, it's going to feel, oh man, it's going to feel so beautiful. I wanted to talk about trail treasure today in regard to credit. I found this hat on the trail. Have you ever found trail treasure? I found this hat on the trails here. I found this ring. And I found this crystal on the trails. Trail treasure. Sometimes I wonder if these are gifts from God or opportunities to talk with one another about something. Makes me look like I have pride in where I came from. This country is pretty great. The people here are pretty amazing. We may take for granted some of the things that other places would never take for granted. We just may not have known that we were supposed to take those things for granted to begin with. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. When it comes down to it, we're all on the same page, or we will be. And when we're hearing one another, comprehending at greater than a fourth grade level, or whatever level it is that we gauge ourselves by when we become self-aware enough to not harm other people because we know we've accepted responsibility, like really accepted it, not just kind of admitted to it, but not really accepted it. When we understand what credit is, we repay our obligations in ways that make sense to one another. There's no attitude of robbing Peter to pay Paul. It has to be consistent. The freedom that you want, I want you to have. So the energy that you feel is what you hopefully are returning to me. I'm not going to force anyone to make that choice, but I'll tell you, there are butterflies and there are wasps. There are things that are aggressive and would harm you almost at a hair trigger's notice. And then there's some things that wouldn't want to harm you. They'd want to observe you peacefully. Maybe even flutter around with you and enjoy that day. So thanks for fluttering on by. Hope you clicked on like. Definitely click on subscribe. For sure, share this video with anyone. And let's get our credit back on track together. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Peace be to the family. Peace be to your family. And all that old school stuff. Have a great day.